I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quentin Williams. Right sideline, Usaba's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like give it like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life breathing in the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.
Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilot. I have Robby Sabo from Jets X Factor. Robby, how you doing tonight?
Ryan, what's up, buddy? Nice intro. It's been a while. I like this one. It's pretty smooth. Eminem, right? I'm an old guy, but that's Eminem.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Love it, love it. Boys and girls, if you're just hopping in, make sure you hit that like button. Down below in the description, you'll find the link to Robby Sabo's channel, Jets X Factor. Make sure you sub them up. They do some great reporting over on Twitter as well. Really good follow. Got to follow Sabo, Nania, and Blewett over there. But without further ado, let's get into some of your thoughts about everything going on around the New York Jets. Before we get into some of the quarterback stuff, I want to ask your opinion. How did you feel the night of the Hall of Fame Rookie of the Year awards? What were your kind of reactions? It feels like a lot of people had the one of the better Jet nights that we've had in a long time.
Yeah, it was a Jets world. I mean, I didn't see it live, the honors. The sauce didn't surprise me. You know, the first time I saw him in August, you could just tell he was a freak. You shouldn't be able to move like the way he does with his wingspan and his length. He just does it. He pulls it off. Garrett surprised me a little bit that he won it, but he deserves it for sure. It's a great deal having those two guys, and then you got Brees in the wings. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches, but, you know, the guy I really feel great for is Klecko. When you hear some of the interviews he's done since he got in, you could tell he is genuine. Like, he's like a little schoolboy. He's giddy. And this guy, he was just a perfect example of someone who just slipped through the cracks all these years. You know, praise from a million people. Anthony Munoz, 3 different positions on the D-line in the Pro Bowl. He's a stud, and he deserved it. And that video with Joe Namath letting him know that he got in was just, I think it was the best thing from that night, if you're a Jets fan, especially if you're an old-school Jets fan.
Yeah, the video of him knocking on Klecko's door, like my eyes welled up. I felt like such a little pansy. I was like, I don't care. It's beautiful. He cares so much. It just means the world to me. He was my dad's favorite player. So like watching him go in, seeing Revis, who was like the best player that I've seen, you know, in my childhood go in is kind of cool. It was a nice little special moment there. But I guess the real thing everyone is probably going to want to talk about, and we'll just hop right into it. You guys can let us know your thoughts in the chat. I do have a poll question for you guys. Do you hope Carr signs with the Jets? We got 114 votes right now. There's a very large vote for yes over everything else.
Really?
So
What's the percentage?
It's 78% yes, 22% no.
So you gotta fill me in here on this channel. Is it more Carr over Rodgers right now?
So I would say no. I think if I were to do a poll and I said, who would you rather sign, Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers? I would bet the majority would probably go towards Aaron Rodgers. You would still get a pretty heavy dose of Carr as well, but I think it's the uneasiness of knowing if Rodgers is going to come back and the uneasiness of is he going to move on from the Packers. My hope is that the $110 million he has coming to him over these next 2 years is enough incentive for him to want to play. And my hope is the Packers like Jordan Love enough that they're definitely trading his ass. So, like, I think the Jets have something planned out already, and they're just waiting on Rodgers to say he's coming back. But I want to hear your thoughts on this whole quarterback situation.
I'm starting to sense you're a Rodgers guy too, right? Rodgers over Carr?
I would say yes. What I would do is I would talk to Carr and I would do the whole, hey, this is so great. We want, we know you wanted to hit free agency. You want to talk to a bunch of teams. That is totally fine. We understand. We want you, but we want, go talk to whoever you got to talk to. And then over the course of the next, few weeks, I think by the start of the combine, I think we'll hear that Rodgers is coming back. And then I think over the combine, that's when he'll get traded, or there'll be trade talks heating up, and it'll be just before free agency that he actually gets moved. So I think Carr being able to test some other places allows you some time to kind of wait and see if Rodgers makes a decision, because once that decision is made, then it's just, hey, Green Bay, are you keeping him? Yes? Fine, we're going with Carr. You're not keeping him? All right, what's it going to take to get him? I would go with Rodgers, the 2 years. As much as people are saying Carr is like the long-term guy, and he could be the guy for 5-6 years, if you hit on Rodgers and you hit on Zach's development, now you're talking like 12 years. That's the real long-term hope.
That's the key to me. Eliminate 5-6 years from your mind. Mm-hmm. This is the NFL. This is a now league. 2 years is an eternity. And the way I look at it, yes, it's a close call. And I would be okay with Carr. There's no question about it. But there are so many variables with what you were saying, with the uneasiness about Rodgers, going in the hole, not knowing what he's going to do. So I admit it's really tough decision, which is why so many fans are all over the place. But because there are so many variables, I think we're overthinking it here too. And we have two quarterbacks. One is an elite, undoubted guy, and one isn't. And to me, it's really that simple. When you're choosing between one or the other, and Rodgers is one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time who didn't slow down. Yes, he's old. Yes, he's he's a strange fella at times. I think the New York media, they'll ask him tough questions, but they'll also respect him at the same time. So I don't think he'll have any issues there. This is the NFL. This is not Joe Torre. You're not the Yankees manager where you have daily spots with WFAN or Yes Network. It's once a week, talking to the media once a week. So I don't worry about the New York stuff, but he's always been locked in. He's always been that guy who wants to win. So I'm not worried about that stuff. Now, Carr does intrigue me because he never misses games. He's a culture guy. He's a rah-rah guy. But again, I don't worry about that stuff for Rodgers. He's a winner. Fans will ask, what has he won since 2010? He's gotten to the conference championship game, twice since then? 2 MVPs. I mean, he's a winner. And don't forget, he just watched Patrick Mahomes win his second Super Bowl. He watched Favre play well with the Jets. Yeah, he got hurt, but he had things cooking at 8-3, beating the Titans, and then almost get to the Super Bowl with Minnesota. He watched Joe Montana, Tom Brady switch teams. He's a competitor too. So the key will be that number 13 pick, and the big wins for the Jets, either one that you should really be rooting for is acquiring Rodgers without giving up number 13. That's a lot to ask for, but that's a big win. Or signing Carr without going past 2 years of hard years, meaning there's not an out in the contract after 2 years, but you can cut him and not be destroyed. Because the worst thing you could get in, like Rodgers 2 years or Carr 6 years, in the NFL, I want the 2-year guy. It's more flexibility. You're going to have to pay all these rookies. Remember, you're going to have to pay a lot of these guys eventually in 3-4 years. I don't want to be stuck like Cousins, like Minnesota. I don't want the middling quarterback on a huge deal. So I think that's an advantage of Rodgers, but Carr definitely has the advantage where you don't have to give up compensation. So I understand why it's close, but one guy's elite, one guy isn't. And that's what I keep coming back to.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to bring up too. The part of me with the idea of compensation both ways. With Carr, you're taking up more salary cap space and duration, as opposed to Rodgers, you're going all in. You're going to have to give up probably 2 draft picks. I would say it's probably going to be 13 and a second next year or something along those lines.
Yeah,
or maybe a conditional pick. Yeah, I think somewhere in that ballpark. But his cap hit is so manageable for the next 2 years that you're able to build a team around him. And then when his dead cap hits in 2025, all $60 million of it, it's going to be brutal. But it may not be like the worst idea to kind of bottom out a season, or, the fact that dead cap hit is going to come in a year just prior to the AVT the Sauce, the Brees, and all those contract extensions actually kicking in. If you look at their timeline of like when their third year's up and when their rookie contract would be, I guess up. Realistically, I think if you go with Rodgers, you're probably only sacrificing Becton, Mims, and Elijah Moore. I think you can sign everyone else with a Rodgers move, as well as like maybe having that hope of reclaiming Zach in 2 years. And if not, then you bottom out in 2025 and you kind of hit reset at that point. That's how I've kind of looked at it. At least.
Yeah, no, I agree. In the Carr deal, if you go Carr, the contract is going to be huge. I mean, how much you paying this guy? What's the guarantees? What are the terms? How many years? Like that's Douglas. That's why I look at Rodgers and I say, yeah, the cap hit is going to be massive, this per year salary, but the guarantees, the way they could restructure a lot is flexible there, where it could be worked out, and you're not locked in long term. And if you're locked in with a quarterback on a franchise quarterback contract, who's not truly a franchise quarterback, it's death. It's death. And I do like Carr. He intrigues me a lot, and it's close because of the variables, but I do think we're overthinking things a little bit. I mean, Rodgers is elite, man. He's a Hall of Famer, and the other guy isn't. It's that simple.
Now, what do you say to the fans that are panicked in the situation of Rodgers goes elsewhere or doesn't get traded, and now Carr has signed somewhere else? What is the Jets' backup plan? What would you do?
Baker Mayfield, of course.
I've heard Tannehill. I've heard Jimmy G. I've heard Jimmy G and Tannehill seem like 3 and 4 are like the most common.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, panic is real. I understand it. Douglas would panic too, but if you're a fan, be assured that Douglas, there's stuff happening right now behind the scenes. They know their pecking order. Certain guys know what's happening and the timing. I mean, we don't even know the timing with Carr yet. It might be planned out with Carr in his camp that their timing hinges on somebody else, for example. So until that first domino falls, I wouldn't panic too much, because Carr might let someone else make the first move. It all depends on that. And until we hear about a first move, don't panic until that happens.
Yeah, I'm just worried that it's going to wind up being Rodgers, and we're not going to go for Carr because we put all our eggs in that one basket. I've seen it before. We put our eggs in the Peyton Manning basket, and then we give that stupid contract to friggin' Sanchez. And then we put all our eggs in the Kirk Cousins basket, and then he turns us down for less money to go to the Vikings. Like, I don't want that to happen again. Talk me out of it.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing is the contract could be worse if Rodgers says, hey, I'm going to stay in Green Bay, or hey, I'm going to go to Vegas, and the Jets get desperate. And then Carr has him over a barrel. So that could be a bad scenario, to your point, in terms of panic. But I don't see it playing out that way. I just don't see it playing out that way, because Carr, he is, even though it sounds like I'm getting on him when comparing him to Rodgers in terms of talent, I'm really not. It is Aaron freaking Rodgers. It's one of the most talented arms of all time. Carr is more of the humanitarian, the good guy, the teammate, the religious guy. So I don't see him. Yeah, he's going to get paid, and he's going to try to get as much money as possible. But I don't see him doing any of those dirty things where he'll hold someone over the toilet and give him a swirly. So don't worry yet. I think Douglas and the Jets have it under control.
Yeah, that's what I just got to hope for. There's adults in the room now. I can trust these guys to make the right decisions. And when I look at Carr and I just see like, okay, he's been 4 head coaches, 5 offensive coordinators, 2 different cities. If you look at his stats, he would have put up like 8 of the top 9 years in Jets single season history, records. Only Namath would have more yards than him in any given season. I have such a hard time looking at Carr and saying like, that's the personality. Like, this guy's pissed off. He hasn't won yet. Like if there's one dude that's going to like give you that little bit of an extra edge, the guy that wants to win. We're playing against the Raiders in Vegas this year. We already have 9 home games. We got the 10th one with the Giants at MetLife, and then we get Carr in Vegas. That's virtually an 11th home game. It's amazing.
And the Super Bowl is in Vegas too, to take it even further. So
talk about an awesome situation.
Yeah, Carr. Listen, I would never be upset if they wind up with Carr, but the stats they work both ways. I mean, he gets points for saying, "Hey, the defense has always been bad. He's never had a top 20 defense," but the stats get inflated when your defense is bad as well because you're playing from behind, you're airing it out. So it works both ways in that regard. It is. If anyone says it's not a tough call between Rodgers and Carr, they're nuts. It is a tough decision because of all the variables. It really is.
Yeah, I think just having Rodgers and like him looking up to Zach, like for me, the chemistry in our building, like Rodgers coming here makes perfect sense. I think it sets himself up perfectly for afterwards. I think if you look at Rodgers adding to his legacy, if that's what he wants to do, the only spot he can win a Super Bowl that would really impact his legacy is New York. He wins a chip here. He does something Brett Favre couldn't do. Namath gives him the whole like, oh, you can wear the number 12 now. Like all these different things with Rodgers and Hackett being here and not necessarily giving up on Zach. I think all those things just makes so much damn sense that I fear it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and if you fear it's not going to happen. And Rodgers is smart. You know, he's a student of the media. We know this with all the goofy things he says, and he reads. He reads a lot. He understands the rosters. One thing I'm sure of is that this Jets roster is even more talented than people believe, than the general consensus is. Because if you think about it, you know, they were injured and they performed. They got to 7 wins with the league worst quarterback play. That is insane. So Rodgers knows this as well. He knows Hackett's there, and when's the combine? The 28th, 26th it starts?
So
next week.
It's it's the 28th is the start of it.
So I don't know which date it would be, but I'm pretty sure Douglas and the Jets contingent has a soft date in mind in which it's been communicated to certain parties. And I think Rodgers knows. I think the Jets know. And whether or not Carr knows, I don't know because Carr could jump on anything. But I think that's the way it's going. And I think that soft date will be approaching, as you said, in the next 7 or 10 days.
That just gets me all sorts of excited. Now do you think it gets done? Do you think
though,
Rodgers is the guy like week 1 under center?
Anything could happen. Soft date, if I'm Douglas and I'm thinking in my head, hey, this is our map and this is our hierarchy. This is the first day we have to be truly panicked. And I think that soft date is coming at some point within the next 7 to 10 days.
Yeah, especially because allowing you to get Rodgers at that point, like 2 weeks before free agency, unlocks so much potential with this roster because I don't like CJ Mosley's $21.5 million cap hit. I would love to approach him and say, CJ, we want you to retire a Jet. We want to go for a ring these next 2 years. Let's restructure you. The money we're going to save from you, we're going to bring back your 2 teammates in Quan Alexander and Quincy Williams. We're going for the ring. Like, I think you can get more guys to buy in and get more talent here with Rodgers than if you have to maybe sign someone to a massive contract like Derek Carr. Now this guy's getting money from outside the organization coming in. Why shouldn't Quincy Williams get more? Or why shouldn't, some of these other guys?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it would be to their benefit. And, I'll say this for the quarterback. I think Rodgers is their preference, but I also think if it gets to a point where too much nonsense is too much, they're going to hop all over Carr. And that soft date, again, that I referenced, I think that is the point.
You think that, like, beginning part of March is where that'll tip, like, at the Combine, or you think it'll be post-Combine?
I think right around the Combine, honestly. I think right around the Combine, 7 to 10 days from now.
Yeah, having all those big wigs in one spot, it's bound to create some trade rumors.
Yeah, and the only question is, will Carr wait it out? That's the big question.
Yeah, I think so. I think that he'll want – it's hard for me. I feel like if I were him going to the NFC South, having an easier trip to the playoffs, basically whatever team you pick in the AFC South, you're going to be the most likely team to get into the playoffs from that division. Getting to the Super Bowl is going to be a lot easier because you only have like Jalen Hurts and whoever the 49ers quarterback's going to end up being, plus Stafford or whatever else. It's just a lot easier than the AFC.
AFC's
but
tough,
you get to go against the Vegas Raiders
Josh
this
Allen.
year if he come. I know. I don't. But see, I think with Carr, for me, I look at like the Super Bowl and they say like, okay, can you win with Carr? And what does it look like? I kind of look at it and see like, well, Matt Ryan was like a heavenly experience away from like winning the Super Bowl. And I think Carr's like just as good as Matt Ryan is. Like Nick Foles and Eli Manning, I don't think are necessarily better than what Derek Carr could be. I think he could get hot at the right times. I've sort of likened it to like lottery tickets in the draft, where like if people want to go a certain way and say like, okay, you get 2 lottery tickets with Rodgers,
Yeah.
but you get 5 or 6 lottery tickets with Carr. And it's like, do more cracks at the playoffs help you, or do you think the 2 all in with Rodgers is the better way to go? It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating because if you go Rodgers, I think your ceiling is higher for that shorter amount of time. But if you go Carr, you do hamstring yourself a bit with the return on investment. The salary cap works. That piece of the salary cap that player makes, he's gotta fill it. And how far does he go over in terms of his value? And that'll be the big question with Carr. And the other thing is cold weather. Is anyone worried about the cold weather stuff with Carr? That's the other factor too that I haven't really heard much about.
I've heard a lot of people talk about the cold weather as far as fans go. Fans seem to know about it. The national media, I haven't really heard them chirp too much on it. But it's like, I think he's 2-12 or 2-14 under 40 degrees and 14 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Like definitely like not great. My counter argument to that is if he's on terrible Raider teams late in the season when it would be cold, generally if you're knocked out of contention, those teams probably have a little less motivation. And you're probably expecting maybe some poor quarterback play or maybe some poor records at that point.
Right.
I don't know. It's not a nothing burger, but I think it's a little overblown. Like, what do you think Carr gets paid? That's a big thing for a lot of people. Like, do you think it's going to be like 40 plus?
Yeah, he's going to get. It's going to tilt your head, I think. But the other thing too is, what is he going to be? 32 in March. Okay, it's still relatively young. NFL takes care of quarterbacks, sure, but let's not pretend that every quarterback keeps that level of play going throughout his 30s. Only the rare guy keeps that level of play going, until his late 30s. The Brady, the Rodgers. So it's a slim chance, but there's also a chance he could decline because of age. It happens with quarterbacks, even at the quarterback position at 32, 33, 34, 35. So he's no spring chicken, in other words. In terms of contracts, it'll be more about terms for me, 2-3 years, and it's not going to be a 2-year deal, but I mean 2-year deal in which you have flexibility after the second year, then money. But where the contracts are right now, it's going to be silly. It's going to be silly guaranteed money.
I had projected it's going to be a 5-year, $200 million deal. That's really a sham. It's really going to be a 3-year, $100 million fully guaranteed deal.
Fully guaranteed.
Yeah. And then you'll have the 2 years of like enormous cap hits, to make the contract look bigger for the ego boost, but you really only have him for the 3 years, 35 years old or 34 years old by the time the contract ends. And then he won't be able to get tagged, so he could get another contract at that point at 34 years old if he's playing well.
I think if Douglas could get that done, he'd take it to the bank every time. I don't know if Carr will accept half guarantees. That's the thing with the quarterbacks. It's trending in the wrong direction for the Jets right now in Douglas. Like the guarantees are going up and up and up in terms of percentage. So I think I would be okay with that deal, though.
Do you get to a weird point where it's Carr, aside from Rodgers, it's Carr to a point, and then is there a number that it hits that you're like, Jimmy G Tannehill is better option? Because I feel like once you get north of 35, I start to panic with Carr. That's a big number.
Yeah, it's more about the guarantees. It's so hard to say the baseline because it depends on the years and then the guarantees. Any scenario, I'm okay with paying him more in the first and second year, but the scenario I really want is where there's flexibility after the second year, and that's the really tough thing. So I'd like to keep it at 3-4 years max. It's going to be at least $40 million a year. We know this. I mean, at least. But the guarantees, I mean, see, anything I say, it'll just be blasphemous because I won't want to pay him what he's going to get. So I think I'll just say this. try to make it flexible after 2 years. That's the real win right there.
I think I'm a little optimistic that it's not going to be quite that high, just because I feel like we would have heard more teams attempting to trade for him then, because his contract was only, 32 million and then 41 the next 2 years. So like, if teams wanted to restructure his contract, him coming in, I don't know. I feel like, did enough teams know he was likely to get cut that they just didn't make an offer and they're like, hey, we could just wait it out? Or is it like, I feel like teams would have wanted to trade for that deal then if he's going to get, close to 40.
Yeah, but it wasn't too far off, right? What was it exactly? Do you remember the numbers?
It was 30. Yeah, it was 40. So it was 40 million guaranteed as of February 15th, and it would be $32 million cap hit this year, 7 million guaranteed for 2024. But if he stayed on the roster, it would be 41 million and 41 million the next 2 years after that. So I guess he would have had to restructure and get guaranteed money for those years. So it was worth it for him to opt out. But I'm just surprised more teams didn't inquire.
Well, he had control of the situation too. So I think maybe he wanted to stick it to the Raiders. Hey, you're not going to get anything from me. So that could have been a factor as well. But that is a good point. If he was willing to get traded, it would be surprising. There was not more chatter there.
Yeah, maybe teams knew he was pissed off and did not want to accept the trade, and it just kind of went sideways at that point.
Yeah, the word around the campfire sometimes spreads, and I think the momentum just took on a life of its own. Like, man, they did Carr dirty, and it makes sense that he's going to do it right back.
What do you think about and Randy, we'll get to your super chat in just a second, but what do you think about I don't know if you've heard this idea that McDaniels is the problem in Vegas, and them losing 3 games with 17-point leads was like an NFL record. Like, what do you think about the sabotage of Carr? That little conspiracy theory.
Intentionally sabotaging him this year?
McDaniels?
Like
they structured his contract this past offseason to get out of it because McDaniels saw how he handled the Cutler situation in Denver, wanted to get his own quarterback, but wanted to smooth it over with Carr initially when he got there, because they didn't talk initially when he first got to Vegas.
Right. I don't think it was an intentional sabotage, but I could see that McDaniels tried to give himself some wiggle room. I do think McDaniels is a good offensive mind. Whether or not he's a head coach remains to be seen. I mean, geez, he took Tim Tebow in the first round. It was wonderful. That's a black mark on your head coaching career. I know he's not the GM, but the GM's not making that move without the blessing of the head coach. And I don't put the Raiders' pain on Carr, not in the least. I mean, does he take some ownership? For sure. Two of my buddies I used to play with, huge Raiders fans, and one of them hates Carr, one of them loves Carr. So, yeah, I mean, I go back and forth. A lot of guys hate him, will point at him, but I think it's the nature of being a fan. And sometimes the quarterback gets too much love, too much hate. And so I don't blame Carr at all. No way.
That's fair. Randy drops in and says, Jets need to sign Derek Carr and get a defensive tackle, and a left tackle equals Super Bowl. Is that what you're kind of hoping happens? Let's not say just Derek Carr, but plug in the quarterback, and then is defensive tackle high on your list, and do you want to go tackle first round? Is that your preferred choice?
You know what? I have not gotten into the draft whatsoever yet. And at number 13, they can go in so many different directions. I mean, the mock drafts I've seen, who was it? Was it Kuiper that had them taking the Ohio State receiver?
Yeah, I don't like that. That doesn't rub me the right way.
No, I
like going receiver. I mean,
but you might lose Davis and Berrios, but it's offensive line time or D tackle time or edge time. You got it. The trenches. It's about the trenches right now, and I still think they're better at O-line than people think with ABT coming back. But they got to stay healthy, number one, and they're changing the turf, thank God, at MetLife, and hopefully that works out. But didn't work out in the Super Bowl, and they actually prepared that turf for 2-3 years, which is absurd to think about.
That's so bad. It was
ridiculous.
one of the worst. The only other time I can remember turf being that bad, there was like a Steelers Dolphins Monday night game or Thursday night game at one point where they punted the ball and the ball like landed in mud. It didn't even bounce; it just stuck.
Yeah.
It's like that might be the worst field conditions I've ever seen.
Yeah, it harkens back to the really old Jets fans where 1982 AFC title game, Don Shula destroyed the Miami field because the Jets had a fast offense. The messy fields, I always go back to that one for some reason because Jets fans, they swore they were going to the Super Bowl that year. And it just was not to be.
Just bitter. Just see
Bitter.
son of the Belichick before Belichick.
Shula.
I
Shula
like
was
the
a
idea of
thorn.
going defensive tackle. I like D tackle. I like left tackle. I like edge. Receiver for me, if we go receiver in the first round, something went wrong, I think. And if we go that route, I want like the TCU kid, the 6'5". Like I want something different. Like the Ohio State kid, I know he played with Garrett Wilson, but I watch him and it's like he doesn't look fast. I want speed.
And plus,
if that's
I don't want to pronounce that name. Like, please.
Jackson Njigba. It's too
What are
many
his
consonants
initials?
in
I
there.
got to figure out his initials because that's the only way.
Oh, yeah. NYC Superfan comes in, says, Carr gives long-term stability at quarterback, unlike Rodgers. But like Robbie said, maybe not. But maybe he trends down. Maybe Carr, after 2 years, starts to hit the decline. It's not unreasonable.
More important than long-term stability is the value that you get for that piece of the salary cap. Like, is Kirk Cousins' long-term stability a good thing or a bad thing? In the eyes of many, it's not a good thing because he's not worth the money, that piece of the salary cap. And that is the risk with Carr. With Rodgers, I don't think it's as much of a risk. And if it doesn't work out, it's 1 year, and you figure it out. With Carr, it could be, it doesn't work out, but holy shnikes, we got him for another 3 years. We can't do anything. So I don't think long-term stability is that much of a positive as people think. In the NFL, 2 years is an eternity. It really is. You play to win now. It's Herm Edwards. If Herm Edwards was here, he would say a thing or two. But they have a roster, a talented roster.
Win a game.
Oh, damn, that's not the one. Where's the... Hold
Oh,
on.
I set you up.
The game.
Ah, I had it. I hit the wrong button. I had win the game, and I play to win the game.
I lobbed it up for you. And
I know. I dropped it.
Burn in New Jersey, brother. What do you do?
Sorry about that.
So yeah, you got it. I just listen. I want the elite guy. And again, will I be disappointed with Carr? No, but I'd like to see him keep it manageable. Flexibility.
Well, it's one of those things too with like the amount of percentage tied to the quarterback and tied to that. That's why you're seeing the last 4 teams in the playoffs are all guys on, not max contracts yet, except for I think Mahomes. Mahomes' contract this year, I think, was the highest to ever win a Super Bowl. I think it was percentage-wise, it was like 17% of the cap, and I think before that was like 12. It was like an astronomical number this year. So more so than not, you want it to be that lower end number. And I would imagine Kirk Cousins on that fully guaranteed deal, year over year, is going to be closer to 15+% of the salary cap at some point. And then like Watson, I just saw a tweet. This is the first contract over $39 million in a season, and he's going to count for like $55 million against the cap for the next 4 years or 5 years.
Oh, they're screwed.
Oh yeah. I love it.
Cleveland's so screwed. And they're just so screwed. What a desperate move. It just didn't make sense. And remember Deshaun Watson's season in Jetstown 2 years ago?
Dude, I wanted him. I think the Jets could have given up the 3 firsts before all the allegations, and you would have had a first each of the next 2 years. You just wouldn't have had one this year if it got done. Because you would have had him the
guy
last
I
2.
wanted no part of.
You didn't want Watson
was
before
just
the
too
allegations?
much. No. Yeah, before the allegations. Yeah. It was just too much draft capital. They didn't have the horses yet in the building.
Yeah, that's
But,
the kind of thing with Rodgers too. Like, as much as we're giving up, 2 high picks possibly, are those players that you're drafting at those 2 spots gonna help you in your Super Bowl push for the next 2 years? Like, I feel like veteran players at this point is more what we need. We have our young core in place.
I mean, they could use another real stud on the offensive line, D line. Could always
Center
use
in the
another
second.
edge. But Yeah, yeah. But overall, I mean, it's healthy as ever. Again, I think it's a lot better than people think, than the general consensus would have you believe. Because to do what they did without quarterback play in a quarterback league, it's really absurd if you think about it and you break it down.
Yeah, it makes me feel just a little bit better. That was the other thing with Carr too. Like, right, we can't win with Derek Carr's cold weather stats. Let me remind you, Zach Wilson on a perfect day against Buffalo threw for 150 yards and 1 touchdown without Breece Hall and AVT, and we still won. So
Yeah.
I have no problem with 200 yards and a touchdown a game or whatever from Carr.
They could win with Carr. There's no question about it. It just depends on the ceiling. It'll hinder the ceiling, and how long will you be locked into that? That versus Rodgers, which, and again, I'm talking about Rodgers, that he's elite. There's risk with Rodgers too, of course. There's no guarantee that he comes back and doesn't drop off a cliff. He could as well. But when I'm going with either veteran, I want the guy with more flexibility, and I think that's Rodgers.
Red John jumps in, says,
"Yeah, go ahead."
13-0.
No.
It's just
13.
start-
Number 13. Give it up. Number 13 is tough, though. I admit.
I think we're gonna have to give up 13. I would be stunned if the Packers took anything other than 13. Because if the Titans and Raiders want to be in on it, I feel like they can offer a second easy, and we just can't at that point. We have to offer 13 then.
I think it'll be less compensation than people think, but I agree. The 13 will probably be the thing.
Red John jumps in, says salary cap will rise to help us absorb the dead cap hit. Yeah, that's the thing. The TV contract, I believe, hits next year. It was a $100 billion contract that they signed, so people are expecting the salary cap to really take a jump up. And that's why the Chiefs signed such a masterful contract with Patrick Mahomes. It was like a 10-year deal that looked enormous right now, but it's going to be peanuts down the line. And now that's a very exclusive type of deal. Like, you don't do that to just any particular player. You need to have, trust in the head coach, trust in the GM, trust in the player that they're not going to do something stupid and go sideways.
Yeah, Mike Florio had a great idea the other day. I think he's been talking about it for a while. I'm not a huge Florio fan, but this was a great idea that the quarterback contract should be tied to the cap, a percentage of the cap. And eventually he thinks it'll get done. But if you tie that to the percentage of the cap each year, then it makes sense. And each team could do a lot more each offseason.
I've always liked the idea, and they'll never do it because it would cost more money, but I like the idea of having like some sort of percentage taken off the hit on your cap if you re-sign a homegrown player. So the Jets draft Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson has a phenomenal, season. You want to re-sign him, and let's say it's a $100 million contract. Well, the Jets only get hit with say $90 million of it against the salary cap. Like it's almost like an incentive to re-sign your own players. Maybe that's not what they want to do, because I think they actually like the movement of quarterbacks that's going on. It's almost similar to the NBA, where it's creating a ton of engagement across like a bunch of different fan bases. But I like the idea of tying salary cap to like a position, especially quarterback, that takes up so much.
Yeah, and with Rodgers, what is his cap? Just put up his contract just now. His cap number each year, what is it? Next
So
year.
if he's traded, it's wacky, because that cap hit that he has, once his option is exercised, that changes to a signing bonus that makes it a $15 million cap hit this year, and it pushes all that dead money to the end. And basically the same thing will happen next year. And then that 2025, when he retires, you're either getting a $60 million dead cap hit, or you're splitting it over 2 years, asking him to retire after June 1st in 2025.
Okay, that dead cap hit comes, but you also get his cap number off the books, which is about the same. Right now, his cap number for 2025 is $59 million. So there's a lot. There's going to be restructuring done with him. So yes, it is wonky with his contract, but I think that should not be an issue in terms of being screwed up in terms of the cap as an organization with Rodgers. I think there's enough flexibility there.
Edward Ziff drops in with his 20-month member super chat, says, playoffs with Carr, our defense is great. You think with top 10, top 5 level defense, Derek Carr goes far? We haven't seen him with a top 20 defense yet.
I do, for sure. And the thing I love about Carr is he never misses games. I mean, how many games has he missed in his career?
3, and he was available for 142 of 144, and one of them he broke his leg in. So he's like 2.5 games that he missed.
The dude's a football player. Like he's more than a quarterback. He's a football player. He's all in. He's invested, and he's got that. You know, he wants to be a part of the culture. He wants to be one of the guys. And I'm not saying Rodgers doesn't have that. He'll always be dialed in. But that's the real intriguing thing about Carr is that he really buys in, and he's always available. Rodgers has been too for the great majority of his.
I think the last 4 or 5 seasons he hasn't missed a game. Rodgers.
Yeah, Rodgers. He's one of those guys. He's always healthy. He does the right things. He takes care of himself. He wants to be a pro golfer too, for sure. Like he wants to be on the PGA Tour as bad as anybody. I think.
He comes play for the Jets. Your boy's gonna get him a free round of golf. Set him up, play it around. It's like, hey, Ron, come over here.
Yeah, hey, Ron, just head to West Jersey. Beautiful West Jersey.
Yeah, it'll be wonderful. Yeah, I the whole Rodgers experience is interesting from a personality standpoint because when I look at the Jets locker room and I see all the young impressionable guys, like there is a little bit of me that is concerned about Rodgers, like maybe not giving 100% because he knows he can get away with some stuff and like, you know, he's just trying to get the ring at the end there. Where like Carr, I trust him to kind of put in that work, like you said, and like be the positive influence that I want to see Sauce have and like Garrett Wilson and all these other guys, you know, veteran presence in the locker room. But I feel like once you start winning with Rodgers, it all goes out the window. It doesn't matter at that point. And
that's the one wild card I think in this whole thing. Think about Douglas and Saleh and who they are. Culture.
Yep.
The right person, the right player. And I think that's the one wild card here where maybe they had a plan going into this past weekend, but when they met Carr and they started thinking about it more and they had that lunch with him with the where did they go? Summit, New Jersey. I forget the restaurant.
Yeah, they went to Fiorino Ristorante or something like that, I think was the name.
Yeah, and a Jets fan snagged a nice creeper photo, which was great for the internet. But
you remember the guys sitting behind the Jets sign, like taking pictures at One Jets Drive?
Yeah.
At one point.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
There was always Jets Twitter at it again, winning the day.
It is a special
group I think
of
that's
fans.
the one wild card. They could be enamored with that aspect because Carr is that type of player that they love.
I completely agree. Bobby Woodruff drops in and says, "Hi, Ryan, my friend. You are awesome." Bobby, thank you. Blitzcrew says, "Think Asiani can rehab Mims and more." I don't know who Asiani is. Do you know who Asiani is? Is it
Asiani, one of the new, they
is that like a new health and fitness guy that we just hired or something?
Let me see. Let's double check it before we don't give any.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've never seen that name before. So
they just shuffled some coaches in and out.
They say Jets just hired him. Oh, wide receiver coach.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Given the Mims and more.
I mean, to be honest, with that question, I don't know this guy too much, so I'll abstain from this for now. But we'll have a better idea once OTAs comes.
I like that. That's a good answer. Good answer. Don't want to give out some misinformation here.
No,
Kevin,
new staff.
Kevin drops in, says Justin Fields, Rodgers, Lamar, Carr, or Jimmy G. It's Rodgers. Okay, let's rank them. For me, it's Rodgers, Carr. Rodgers, Carr,
Lamar.
Jimmy. Yeah, I really like Lamar. I
think that's the.
He would never get traded to the AFC though. That's the only thing.
Rodgers, Carr, Lamar, Jimmy G.
Yeah,
Lamar.
Yeah, I don't want any part of Fields or Jimmy really.
Folks, Lamar doesn't fit with Hackenberg. Not Hackenberg. Jeez, Hackett. It doesn't work. Like Lamar, he's an unbelievable talent, but it's not the right offense. Like I would be stunned if something were to happen where Lamar slips to the Jets. You know, Douglas knows Baltimore very well, but it's not a fit. I see Atlanta as the real good fit for Lamar because Arthur Smith could do a lot of things with him on the ground. You know, do a lot of RPO, a lot of read option, a lot of zone reads, the way that Greg Roman did. And I think people are going to find out Greg Roman did a lot of good things for Lamar when we're talking a year from now. But Lamar, would I take him on the Jets? Sure. I mean, it's just not a fit now. I'm going Rodgers and Carr.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think Atlanta makes the most sense. They offered all the picks. They offered the contract for Watson last year. The only thing they didn't guarantee him was the fully guaranteed deal in the event he was convicted, and they said, no, we're not doing that. The Browns were like, yeah, sure, we'll give you that. So that's the only reason he didn't go to Atlanta. Like, I think they would give up the picks for Lamar. I think it makes a ton of sense. I struggle with seeing him leave. Like, originally I thought for sure he's gone. Like, there's no way he's playing on the tag. His year to sit out is this year because he saw what happens when he gets hurt at the end of this year. Yeah. With them bringing in Todd Monken, I don't know. I think they want to bring him back and try to make him that passer there and then pay him. But I don't know if he's going to accept that kind of like 1 year prove it deal.
They could, but he's got to hire an agent. Number one, Lamar, hire an agent, dude.
Too much money to screw up.
No one thinks you're bad with money or you can't do it. But why hamstring yourself like this? There are so many. It's not about reading the contract, reading the numbers, not knowing what to do. It's about all the little extra things that agents could do for you in terms of communication, in terms of maneuvers. So if I were talking to Lamar, I would say that hire a friggin' agent.
Yeah, I mean, not even just for the contract negotiation standpoint, but that agent is going to know other players and is going to have a pulse on what players are getting paid and what other teams might be thinking of you. I was watching something one time. They were talking about, I wish I could remember who it was off the top of my head. I think it was, actually, it might have been Connor Hughes talking about how, he got a big break at one point because, he was gifted a story, but like, I don't know. It's just, I've lost my train of thought of where I was going with what were we just talking about like 2 seconds ago. Like I started going down tangents and now I'm all confused. Whatever. It's not Lamar. We're not getting Lamar.
Yeah, all right. It just doesn't make sense.
No.
And I'm going to do that, by the way. Call Hackett Hackenberg quite a few times.
Way more. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a video. I'll be editing it after I shoot it, and I'll be like, I'm not refilming. Just throw some text over it.
Jets fans listening, did anyone old enough to remember Paul Hackett? From the early 2000s?
Yeah. That was the first OC I actually, like, remember, I think. Like, vividly.
Yeah.
That was, what, 2002?
Yeah, it was the
early
Herm years, 2001 to 4, I think. I think it was just the last Herm year he was gone. And they actually had some pretty good offenses. The output was decent. And Jets fans hated him, though. My goodness. And some Jets offensive players hated him, too, behind the scenes, by the way. But Jets fans hated him, and it's interesting that his son is back now. And it'll be interesting to see what he does without Rodgers too, if it's not Rodgers, because should he be viewed on what he did in Denver as a head coach? No, not entirely, but I don't think you should dismiss it altogether either, because you want your OCs, you want your coaches to also be leaders. And the fact that it didn't work out for him as a leader in Denver does mean something. So I think people are taking the wrong tact when they throw it out completely.
Yeah, I don't think you can completely discount it. I'm looking through a shade of green and I'm saying, well, I've seen Rodgers without Hackett and I've seen Seattle without Russell Wilson. So for me, it's, the common denominator is clearly not Hackett. It's
That's
clearly,
true.
Yeah, right. See, it makes you feel a little bit better about the whole situation.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. But hey, if Jets fans get Rodgers, I think they're going to be thrilled that they hired Hackett.
Could you imagine if we wind up with a season where we have like a 45 touchdown and sub 10 interception season? I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to go nuts.
All he needs is 32 touchdowns to break the single season passing touchdown record. I mean, it's bonkers. He'll have it by week 10, week 12, week whatever.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
And then like I would just love the ceremony of like Namath passing down the number 12 jersey so Rodgers can wear it in New York to break the curse. Because we all know Namath sold his soul to the devil to get the ring, and we're all waiting for him to kick the bucket so that way the curse gets lifted. No, him passing on the jersey is lifting the curse while keeping the dude alive.
Yeah. I think Namath sold his soul to get the ring and to have the nightlife, because he certainly had the nightlife as well.
Looking back and seeing like all the interviews and just the clips, it's just so much swag, so ahead of his time. Imagine if like the social media world was alive when Namath was like doing his thing.
Oh, dude, I don't know if he would have made it out alive.
No.
I honestly don't.
No, I feel like him and him and Lawrence Taylor would be like two examples of like people you don't want on social media right now.
No,
not right now, but
entire
like in their
86
heydays.
Mets. The entire '86 Mets too. You know, their
Exactly.
their season would have had to been canceled. Like,
Like, oh, we
forfeits for
can't
that.
have that there. They're not supposed to know that. Good documentary. Pooch Guy comes in and says teams should all be equal when it comes to taxes.
Yeah, I
it's
agree with that.
it's a weird issue. Like I would like to see some sort of like forgiveness, like maybe the Jets and Woody Johnson have to pay more, but like that amount more to make the contract even doesn't hit the salary cap. Like there's absolutely a competitive advantage to any of the non-income tax states that you just can't really do anything about. You're just like, well, sucks. Like for the way Rodgers' contract is structured, because of that option, normally it's your base salary that gets taxed differently in each state based on where you play. But because of that option, he gets one lump sum of money, which means it's an $11 million difference of him going to Vegas or to Tennessee versus New Jersey. And that's not nothing.
No, if a league has a hard salary cap, they should do something in terms of the taxes because it's not fair. It really isn't. Baseball, NBA, I understand. Like the NBA salary cap's soft. The taxes or whatever, but NHL, NFL, they need to do something because it really does matter.
I completely agree. Donald Johnson comes in. Donald says, I think that y'all just overthinking Carr. In the good way or the bad way? You think we should just sign Carr? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
The overwhelming majority on this poll that I have in the live chat right now, we've got almost over 400 votes. 77% say sign Carr.
Don Johnson, Carr fan?
I guess so.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't tell either way.
I love the what's going to happen. Like it would be great if we get one of these two guys. I can't even say like if we get Rodgers, we're going to go through this whole like, are we going to have a quarterback in 2024? We have no idea, and I don't care. It would still make me feel like at least better than what we've had. I want the quarterback. Like to me,
and there are Jets fans who are sour on the idea because Favre didn't work out.
Oh, that drives me nuts. I get so pissed off at that. I'm like, hold on, whoa. 8-3, first in the AFC, and like, you don't want that? He had his best year of his career the year after the Jets traded for him.
He got hurt.
Like,
He got hurt with the Jets. It was unfortunate.
Yeah, the torn biceps. The Jets were going to the Super Bowl that year. If you cannot convince me that if the Jets had Favre instead of Sanchez for those 2 years, that the Jets would not have won a Super Bowl in one of those 3 seasons.
Right, and that just goes to show you how talented that roster was. The roster Mangini and Tannenbaum built, ridiculous, filthy. They were 8-3, finished 9-7 after the injury. So bad quarterback play. They tank. They're terrible. Next year, Sanchez, he is what he is. They still do their thing with Rex. Imagine they had a quarterback. So just having that elite quarterback makes all the difference in the world. So that's why I'm still on that Rodgers train. But I do understand. I do understand how close it is. I really do.
Yeah, you mentioned before it's such a win now league, and I want everyone in the chat to realize this. The average turnover of an NFL roster year over year is 30%. Yeah. By the time Zach possibly gets the ball again, maybe in like after 2 years, it's going to be an entirely new team. Like he's going to know the 10% of people that are the Sauce, the Garrett Wilson, and like that's it. Everyone else is going to be. I mean, he'll have been there, but you'll have new players on the team. He'll be kind of learning underneath Rodgers, and I think that provides like a little bit of. I don't know. The value in Rodgers is because the roster turnover is so high year over year, and you just should win right now while you can. Like you see teams make like the big trade, the big move. The Rams go out and they get Stafford. The Bills go out, they try to get Diggs, and they make the signing for Von Miller. Like these teams are going all in to win now because they know it. You saw Philly go after A.J. Brown. Like, I'm sure you'll see them try to sign some guys this offseason. It wouldn't shock me if they got Josh Jacobs. Like that would be insane.
Things change very quickly. Like the Cardinals didn't think they would be drafting Kyler Murray. The Bears didn't think they'd be drafting Bryce Young. Things happen very quickly. And with the new rookie deals, the new draft contracts, things change very quickly in this league, especially at the quarterback position. So with Carr, I don't think having him for 5 years is a positive because you can't predict that out. I think the real positive is no compensation and his personality. I think that's the real positive. And I think for Rodgers, the real positive is he's Aaron freaking Rodgers. So we'll see. It's a close call, but give me that elite Hall of Fame dude.
I kind of align myself with that way of thinking. And NYC Superfan actually brings up a really good point here. He says, what supplemental players come with a Carr signing? Where we've heard with Rodgers, there's going to be players that he wants to bring with him. I've speculated the Jets are going to give up 2 first-round picks total for the wow factor for the Packers. They can say they traded Rodgers for 2 firsts. The Jets get Rodgers and Bakhtiari, the tackle, at the same time. So now you're not spending the money, or you're not spending the draft pick on 13. Packers would have cut him because of the monster cap hit anyway. The Packers can now get their tackle of the future at 13 for their franchise quarterback in Jordan Love. The Jets can say, we've got our left tackle and we've got our franchise quarterback for our quarterback for the next 2 years. And then you just kind of wash your hands. That's the deal that's, I think, already done behind the scenes.
And, in an offense, he already knows. With Hackett.
Yeah.
It's not a new offense. It's a seamless transition, which is a huge deal. Huge deal. And that's a great point by that commenter right there. I had something that I had cooked
I don't
up
think
too,
you get
but
anyone with I don't think you get anyone with Carr. With Rodgers, I think you get Cobb to replace Berrios as far as like a backup slot. And then I think you have Bam Knight returning kicks instead. And then I don't think we get Alan Lazard. I think he's going to try and go for the contract. He hasn't been paid yet, and he's a little bit older. But you could, in theory, swap him out for Corey Davis, and I don't know if that's necessarily crazy to consider. And there is the possibility that Corey Linsley, the center from the Chargers, is going to be a salary cap casualty. He played with Rodgers. Yep, he played with Rodgers under Hackett. So I could see him for 2 years with McGovern walking. They're like, hey, we get Linsley, we get Bakhtiari, we get Cobb. So you get all these players that come with Rodgers. Maybe we get Adrian Amos, someone that Douglas scouted in Chicago. Believe it or not.
And Lazard is speaking glowingly about Rodgers on his way out. Like, you hear the quotes from him, Aaron Jones, Lazard. They just, I think Lazard called him the GOAT, the greatest of all time the other day, over Brady, which, hey, whatever. I know you were teammates, but it's a good sign.
Yeah. I mean, 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, it's really hard, not to want Rodgers. The guy is just so incredible.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a close call, but the panic is real. I understand the panic because it's only a short window. And Douglas has got to decide. It's going to be over the next, I really think something's going to happen over the next 7 to 10 days. So we'll see.
I love it. Robby, thank you so much for hopping on here. I'm going to take some phone calls after we hop off here, but I want to get your final closing thoughts. Let them know where they can find you and what you got going on.
Just hit up jetsxfactor.com. All that good stuff is right there. And then JetX Mobile on the App Store and Google Play. Ryan, thanks for having me on anytime, brother. And Jets fans, don't panic. Deep breaths. It's all going to work out. I was about to say I promise, but that would have been a silly move.
I'll take your promise. Only if you pinky promise, though. Yeah, it's got to be a pinky promise.
It's all going to work out, fellas. Just deep breath.
I love it. Guys, that was Robby Sabo. Thank you so much for hopping on, dude. Make sure you head over to his channel and sub him up. Boys and girls, we are at that point in the show where we can start doing some call-ins. Let's see. Where's my little... Bam. There's that. I can take that off the screen because I don't have topics tonight. Let's see. Is this the piece I need? I think so. Bam. Do that. Where's my timer? Timer appears there. All right. Timer's going to go up here tonight. And the link, if you guys want to hop on, ask a few questions, is going to be pinned in the live chat. I just threw that in there. You guys will pop in. You get 3 minutes. After 3 minutes,
That's it! You're out of here!
that's right, you're out of here. I had this nice clip I had all queued up, and I was just waiting to use it. You know what? Before I go to the phone, so I see you, Carson, I see you, Charles, hang tight real quick. I want to show a clip real quick. I want to talk about it. Meant to show it with Robby, didn't do it. But let's take a look at some comments made on Get Up this morning.
We have some hard conversations that are going to be happening in Florham Park this week because this one is getting extremely interesting. Derek Carr visiting with the team, and I'm told that it was a very positive meeting, that the Jets really believe that Derek Carr is the type of quarterback that can lead them to a potential championship. They also believe that the meeting went really well. Here's the rub, though. Aaron Rodgers still lingers, and the team also remains fascinated in the possibility of adding him. So why is that a problem? The timeline. Now we're looking at a situation where Aaron Rodgers hasn't even gone to the Packers to say whether he wants to be traded. We don't know if the Packers would be willing to trade him. We obviously know that there's a decision to be made there. So do the Jets go hard for Derek Carr now, or do they risk potentially losing him and waiting it out for Aaron Rodgers? It is an ultimate predicament. I expect hard conversations within Florham Park to figure out which direction they go on their quarterback position.
So they were talking about, what do you do? Do you go for the quarterback now? Oh, moving stuff around on here, sorry. Do you go for the quarterback now in Derek Carr because you have the ability to sign him without giving up draft picks? You don't know what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. You don't know if the Packers are going to trade Aaron Rodgers. I don't believe that. I think the Jets do know what's going to go on with the Packers because I believe Robert Saleh and LaFleur have had conversations, and they've at least had an understanding like, hey, if Rodgers says he's coming back, we are moving him or we are not moving him. And I guarantee because of how giddy the Jets are, they know the Packers are going to move him. They're just waiting for him to say he's going to come back. And I think there's a trade already worked out behind the scenes. I really do. All right, let's jump into some phone calls. I've got Carson up first, then we got Charles, and then Afram. So Carson, welcome to the cockpit.
What's going on, Ryan?
Not too much. Hanging in there. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. So, quarterback. That's basically what is driving Jets fans crazy, and rightfully so. You know, listen. I've been thinking about this since the last time I called in when you had Tyson on the show. I was thinking about this, and here's the thing. Last time I brought up, you know, are we really in a position to give up assets plural for a 1 or 2 year rental? Number one, we don't know if he wants to even come here. Okay, that's number one. Number two, for a 2 year rental, are we really in a position to give up, you know, $30-40 million plus 2 first round picks and possibly a second? Okay, that's number two. And number three, with Derek Carr, with him testing free agency, he's going to get. I think what you said on one of your other videos. I think $35 million is right the sweet spot. I think that's kind of where he's going to be. I gotta say though, it is growing and growing and growing. It looks like Lamar is not gonna stay in Baltimore. It's moving that direction.
Do you think the Jets try to make a play for him?
See, here's the thing. Is there an NFL quarterback in the NFL right now? Right? When healthy, because statistically there's Mahomes, Allen, Rodgers, and Brady. I believe those are the only 4 quarterbacks over the last 5 years or 6 years that have more wins than Lamar Jackson, right? That's a statistic.
Interesting. I did not know that. I'd have to verify.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take it for fact.
Think about it. 26 years old, right? He's coming off a knee injury. That's the scary part, right? He's coming off a knee injury. But when he is on the field, he is the most electric quarterback in the NFL. He is. Robert Saleh said it himself.
See, I don't have an issue with Lamar. I would trade for Lamar if like other things don't break the Jets' way. Like I would prefer Rodgers or Carr ahead of Lamar right now, but I understand guys wanting Lamar. I think there's no way they trade him in the AFC. I think he's definitely going to the NFC. I think he's definitely going to Atlanta if he gets traded.
Right. That's an interesting point, but see, here's the thing: if they put the non-exclusive tag on him. Right, and the Jets decide to match that offer sheet. I believe it's 2 first-round picks, and I believe a second rounder is the offer sheet. Right? Would you rather give that up for possibly 5 to 10 years of Lamar here in New York, or would you rather give that up for 2 years of Rodgers? And Carr, we just got to give up the money.
Yeah. See, I would give up if you could get if you could get Lamar, and let's say it was the 2 first-round picks, and that's what it took to get him. I'm on board with that. I'm okay giving up the 2 picks for Lamar all day. I think if you sign him to an offer sheet, there's no way the Ravens don't match that offer sheet, and then you work out a trade after that. I don't think there's any way they let him go for just the 2 firsts. Carson, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. All right, we got Charles up next. Charles, how you doing tonight?
Good, man. Love your sauce t-shirt.
Thank you. I'm glad you got it.
I didn't get it, but
no, you're talking about me. Oh,
yes.
Yeah. I got 2. I got my defensive rookie of the year. I got my offensive rookie of the year one. I just chose the sauce one first. They just came in like 2 days ago.
I know, because you and I both wanted sauce. Oh, my God.
I was so happy. I got so much shit for like weeks. Like, it's got to be the edge rusher. It's got to be edge. I'm telling you, I was like, this guy's character. He's an alien. I don't know. I didn't think he'd be this good. No shot.
I didn't think he would be that good either, to be honest, but I'm glad we fucking got him. Anyways, so we're here to talk about the quarterbacks. I've been talking to the quarterbacks a little bit with Jets Unleashed. Huge shout out to him. I would love Rodgers to be on the Jets, but thing is, does he want to come here? Would he have a problem with the limelight here in New York?
I don't think he would. I don't think he's afraid of the limelight. I think he really likes the media attention. I don't think he goes on Pat McAfee just because he's a good guy. I think he definitely loves like are they swooning over me? I want all the media attention. I think he'll love being here. Now, I do think you have to ask whoever you're going to go after, do you want to be here? I'm not talking contract with you until I know you want to be here. Like, even that goes for Derek Carr. I'm not trying to outbid someone for a mercenary. I want you to tell me you want to be here. You believe in this team. Okay, we'll make the money work. I don't care what it is at that point. We'll figure it all out. But I'm not going to try and overbid like a Cousins situation to get a guy that doesn't necessarily want to be here.
That is very true. That was what I'm saying. Does he want to come here? Because plus, but with Derek Carr, what I love about Derek Carr, and it kind of bothers me that some Raider fans don't like him. He's a locker room guy. He's a good leader. And, he puts up pretty good numbers for the most part. But, and I spoke with his Jets Unleashed, Derek Carr has yet to really show that he can carry a team. I say, look, that is very true. But the thing is, he doesn't have to carry it alone. I mean, this past season, the Jets had one of the greatest defensive turnarounds in the history of the franchise. Maybe in NFL history. Because in the 21 season, our defense was pure garbage. This past season, we were top 5 in the NFL. All we needed was some freaking consistently good quarterback play. That's what bit us in the ass. And a healthy offensive line. But that's another story. But the thing about Rodgers, we would have to sacrifice a couple of first-round picks and maybe a second. That would kind of hurt the team that could probably hurt the team for a while. But for Derek Carr, all we would give up is the money. So
the money's interesting, right? Like it depends if he's getting the fully guaranteed contract, how much you can kind of work with. Because that Watson deal, not that he's getting that kind of money, but like a fully guaranteed deal, there is not really any wiggle room with fully guaranteed. You're not shifting stuff around to make it cap friendly. I think there's a shot Carr might sign for like a 3-year fully guaranteed deal, and then maybe it doesn't maybe it gives him an option to get one more contract before he hangs it all up. Charles, thank you so much for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. All right, next up we got Afram coming in. Afram, how you doing tonight?
Good, Ryan. How you doing?
Hanging in there. What's on your mind?
Well, good show with Sabo. Very.
Thank you. Love talking ball with Sabo.
My biggest concern, I would want Rodgers. That's the top of my list. My biggest concern is I need to know he's going to be there for 2 years. I just can't deal with just a single year. It just, then you're back to square one again, right? Especially if it doesn't pan out, And also, I'm thinking that Joe Douglas doesn't, he's not giving up on the second overall pick with Wilson. So it benefits him with Rodgers. But like you said, I don't think they give Carr a long-term contract if they really want to build, keep Wilson and develop him at this point.
Yeah, it almost
Joe-
provides two different routes, right? Like if you sign Carr, you're almost like admitting like, okay, Carr's not or Wilson's not the guy. With Rodgers, you're kind of putting your eggs in Zach's basket still. Like that's why I've sort of figured that like I would imagine our actual list is probably like Rodgers, Jimmy G, Tannehill in some capacity, maybe more so than Carr, because all three of those options allow you to still go with Wilson as opposed to Carr that may not.
Exactly. As far as the money, there's no way around it. You got everyone looking for big money. Look at what's his name, Jones.
Daniel
now.
Jones,
Like,
$45 million. I'm telling, if Daniel Jones, if they don't franchise tag him and they let him hit the market for some reason, the Jets should go run into him. I really like Daniel Jones. Now, if Rodgers becomes available, go for Rodgers and put your eggs in that basket. No problem. But Jones is number 2 on my list. I would take Jones ahead of Carr.
If they do a non-exclusive, it's $32 million, and then they give up 2 first-rounders, right? So I don't think anyone's giving up 2 first-rounders for him.
I don't know. I would give up 2 firsts. I think if you,
I want to see a second good year out of him, because
that's fair. I think the right team. Maybe the Jets shouldn't do it because of like where our coaching staff is currently. Like I do think the ability to go to Rodgers makes a lot more sense here than Daniel Jones. But I think they could get 2 1s for him.
It depends. I really think it all depends on. We saw he did it with Dable. Does he do it with another team? Right.
I think the biggest thing I saw from him this year was not turning the ball over. Like to me, maybe that's Dable. But like I've seen the same player for the most part, and then maybe you can't discount Dable and Kafka. The 2 of them are just an absolutely fantastic offensive coaching staff.
We just don't have a body of work.
Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely that fear. But if it's like, I don't know, I think Jones is a good quarterback. I know a lot of Jet fans are going to give me shit for that, but like I would be tickled pink if Zach Wilson looked like Daniel Jones right now. I would be so happy.
Comes down to coaching and development.
I know.
Let's hope for
Dude,
the best.
Avram, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. Let's see. I got Omar positive vibes. Give me just 1 second. I'm just going to hit this super chat real quick, and then we'll get to your phone call. Donald drops in, says, yes, I say go ahead and sign Carr. We can't lose out. Man, that's like the biggest fear. Like, how much of a kick in the pants would it be if you signed Carr to like a big contract and then you find out Rodgers wanted to come here and like you just had to wait a few more days? But I understand the big fear of like passing on Carr, passing on Rodgers, and then now you're just up the creek without a paddle. So it's a panic move for sure. All right, I've got Omar. Omar, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, what's up, Ryan? How are you?
Hanging in there, having a good night for sure. How are your feelings on the Jets quarterback situation?
Well, I haven't really been thinking about it too much, and that's part of why I wanted to call in, because I see that things are starting to pick up now, and I didn't realize that the franchise tag window opens tomorrow. So I was thinking nothing's gonna happen until March 15th. Why are so many YouTubers going crazy? Enjoy the off season. I wanted to tell you, Richie, and everybody, like, enjoy the off season. Green Bean, like, come on, guys, take a couple of days for yourself. That's what I did. I've been away from all of this, so I please don't take this the wrong way, Ryan. But I haven't been watching your videos or anybody's videos. Just been enjoying the off season.
That is all right.
I did see one thing though. I did notice that Oh, by the way, shout out to our all the rookies like Garrett and of course Sauce. But listen, what about JJ, right? And like Max,
he flew under the radar this whole time, but that's the reason I think Carl Lawson doesn't come back.
Yeah, I just want to say, low key, man, I'm really excited for Michael Clemens, Jermaine Johnson, year 2 more playing time. Like that solves a lot of the D-line issues if they really just kind of take a couple more steps up or get more playing time. So Gary Vee had a really interesting thing. I'm surprised nobody did a video on that. Did you hear his interview with Pat McAfee?
Who was that?
Gary Vee.
I think I looked at part of it. I don't know if I listened to the full thing. I know he's talking about wanting to buy the Jets, I think, right?
Yeah, he talked about wanting to buy the Jets, but he talked about what to do and how the season went. He said, we shouldn't give up on Zach Wilson. He talked about a number of quarterbacks options right now. I understand the the Carr thing and Aaron Rodgers thing and yada yada yada. I mean, I guess Aaron Rodgers probably sounds like the best choice, but Gary Vee said, and also Rich Eisen said this as well. They talked about stability. So I get it. I get this win now thing. Who gives us the best chance to win now? But the reality is that we're going to be kind of going back and forth with the quarterback thing unless we figure out Zach. I think that that's the way to go. And so, like the last caller said, coaching, I hope that we can find the right coaching or find whatever it is that we need to find to get him in the right place. It's not going to be this year. I get that. But whoever we go with, seriously, whoever we go with, it's 1 or 2 years. Even if it's Derek Carr, because whatever contract Derek Carr gets is not going to be cap friendly, and his age he's not getting any younger. You get what I'm saying? So
I think that's fair. You also run into that whole thing like, okay, are we overpaying for the production we're going to get out of Carr? Because like Sabo said earlier, there is something to the whole, his stats look a lot better because he's on a bad team and they're losing a bunch of games. Like it's almost like the Blake Bortles effect, where Bortles had a ton of yards, but you're like, is he actually a good quarterback? I'm not so sure.
And also, if this experiment don't work out, Salah's gone, so that's another thing. There's a lot of things to this. So let's be patient, guys, and let's support, whatever move the Jets make. That's all I got, Ryan. Oh, and shout out to Robby, man. Love Robby Sabo. Shout out to Robby Sabo. So
good stuff. Dude, I'm a Jet fan first and foremost. I don't care who our quarterback ends up being. I do care. That's a lie. I do care who our quarterback
ends up being. I just hope things don't get...
I'm cheering for the guy in green.
Yeah. Things got ugly towards the end of the year last year, so let's keep this. Let's keep the positivity going. That's what Gary Vee talked about, being more positive than negative. See,
absolutely. Well, he knows it. He understands that you got to kind of manifest that, and I love the positive vibes. Only thing that we got from Salah, I know it sort of went sideways because of everything that went on with the quarterback and stuff towards the end of the season. But I think the messaging is sound. I think the direction is the right way we're going with Douglas, with Salah. And I do think Rodgers provides 2 years of stability for Salah and Douglas, and then it gives them that extra option of, okay, after Rodgers retires, are we running it back with Zach, or are we going on to another quarterback? And I think if you win with Rodgers and you at least see like, okay, this is the guy, like this is the staff that can get a lot out of our other players, they might get a second crack at a quarterback afterwards.
Gary Vee said whoever comes in has to give 5 to 10% of their time to helping Zach, whoever it is. That's what Gary Vee said. So it was a really good interview. You should listen to the whole interview. Really good.
I definitely did hear that part. I do remember that. For Rodgers, I think it's going to be him sort of osmosising stuff with Rodgers, because there's not the same competition that Rodgers had with Love. I think Rodgers would kind of, I don't want to say he's going to help Zach, but I think he's not going to be as standoffish as it was with Love. With Carr, I don't know how you bring Carr in and groom Zach. I think Carr would be a great teammate for Zach. I don't see how Zach likes that, because it doesn't seem like they're rolling with him. Omar, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. Boys and girls, if you'd like to call in, the link to call in is in the live chat. It's pinned in the live chat comment section, so just click on that. You can join in. You get 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, you get the chicken.
You're out of here!
That's right. Got something with the chicken possibly coming up in the next few days. Maybe some new merch. Something like that. We'll see. But yeah, what are you guys talking about in the chat? I haven't paid attention to you guys. Got to show you guys some love. Let's see. Gary says Salah and JD are safe. We were not supposed to win last year. Fans are pushing this move. I do get the feeling the Jets are going to have to start winning this year. So I do think the pressure put on as like a must-win year or like playoffs or bust might be a little more dramatic. Like I think we can see Salah here for 2 more years, Douglas here for 2 more years without beating an eyelash, but you can't have a season that ended like this year next year. I think we're probably all in agreement on that part. Let's see. It's Snoopy says, nobody is coming here helping Zach. What's wrong with some fans? Well, the idea is you hope a veteran quarterback that's 35 plus years old might be willing to put some of that knowledge to good work, and then maybe they have a coaching career. Like McCown was a guy that always liked doing that sort of stuff. But I think when you get like the starting quarterback caliber guys, that's when you start getting a little dicey. Big Al says these Lamar Jackson people are imbeciles. The guy can't beat anybody if he becomes a pocket passer, and that will be sooner than later. The guy can't beat anybody if he becomes. Yeah, I don't know. Lamar doesn't take a lot of big hits, and the 2 times he's been hurt has been in the pocket. Lamar would be really exciting. I don't think he ends up in the AFC though. I think he goes to Atlanta. Let's see. Gary says Rodgers is like a bitch. Quarterbacks don't help other quarterbacks. Coaches do. That's fair. David's excited for the chicken. David says, "Oh, hot chicken news." Well, I didn't try to think hot chicken news. Could have put the chicken in a bikini, I guess. We'll see where it goes. Let's see. Omar says Zach will learn. He wants to get better. He loves football. My fear is the stuff that's going on behind the scenes with like his family life. Like if his mom's getting like horrible DMs and shit like that. Like I know if my mom got those sorts of things or my wife got those sorts of things about me, they'd be like, "Yeah, you're not playing there. Get out of here." So I don't know if it's all about how Zach feels about football. I think some of it is personal too, and I hope our fans calm the fuck down because some of our fans suck. Jordan Victor says, "Can you dump Zach Wilson's contract with a trade?" Let me put that back up there. Yes, but not really. He has a guaranteed contract, so you do have to pay him his salary this year. It becomes cap reasonable to trade him after June 1st of this year. So in the event, like let's say the Jets wound up getting Derek Carr and you said, okay, we're going to fluff up Zach Wilson's trade value in preseason, then you could move on from him and you wouldn't, necessarily be in the worst shape. I think in the case of Rodgers, you're holding on to Zach for both years. You're probably not going to exercise his 5th-year option if I had to guess. Could you dump Wilson's contract? Yes, I don't see it happening this year. I would be very surprised if it happened this year. I really think we're getting Rodgers, and I think it's going to be, maybe. I think Zach stays for the next 2 years. I would be very surprised if we did not have him. Hennessy's in the chat. Hennessy says, "What's up, boys and girls? We talking about the same thing tonight." Yeah, we're talking about the same thing about this quarterback news until we get the quarterback. It's going to be a consistent story. I was making thumbnails for all these different live streams where I'm like, okay, I want to talk about this news about Carr. I want to talk about this news about Rodgers. I'm getting to the point where I was like, I'm running out of words to use. I'm just going to do latest updates and we'll just talk about it. We'll do my thoughts and then we'll do the reaction stuff after. Actually, that's something I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the chat. Do you guys like me doing the kind of reaction-y videos where you guys can have the comment questions pop up at the end, or would you prefer me to stick with more of the traditional edited videos? I do a good mix of both anyway, but I'm just curious where you guys sit. We've got 80, 100, 380 of you guys in here, something like that. All right, we got Donald joining the show. Donald, how you doing tonight?
What's up?
Nice having you on the show, dude. What's on your mind?
Not much. I say for real, we would have a better option of going with Derek Carr than going with the quarterback from Green Bay Packers. Yeah, with Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Because
now, why?
For one, he's more older. If you know what I'm saying, like we have,
sure.
And the coaches is looking for stability.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the main things that our coach has been saying, that they've been looking for stability. If we draft and pull in Carr, he would give us more like 3, maybe 4 or 5 years down the line, instead of pulling for the quarterback Aaron Rodgers, which will give us just 2, maybe 1. We don't even know if he's going to retire or not.
I think that's fair. I really think the Jets will probably have some type of condition on that draft pick if Rodgers hangs it up after a year. I feel like any team would have to probably do that.
Yeah, that would be a better pick right there.
Mm-hmm.
Go with Carr, and Carr would give us a better chance of winning the AFC champs.
So I think I don't know. I feel like Rodgers may give a. I think Rodgers gives us the better chance. I think Carr gives us the more longevity. So, like you said, the stability there, being able to have multiple cracks at it. You've probably heard me say throughout the stream talking about like the lottery tickets almost of a playoff season, where you don't know if you're gonna how you're gonna do in the playoffs. There's so many variables. Which team's getting hot? How many injuries are on each different playoff team? There is a portion of it that is, okay, can the quarterback get you past some of the other, players and teams in your conference? But I think Carr is every bit as good as Eli Manning, every bit as good as Matt Ryan, every bit as good as Nick Foles. Like, I think you can win with that level of quarterback play. I don't think I think there's fans that are concerned about it, and I don't think they should be.
And if you look at it this way, we won't have to lose out on our picks neither.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's interesting.
So
you kind of lose.
Everybody's so worried about us losing in our pick 13s and stuff like that, and the rest of our picks. If we get Carr, we won't have to worry about dropping nobody or worrying about dropping our picks.
Yeah, I mean, from a draft perspective, I don't want to lose the 13th pick, but at the same time, I feel like if you sign Carr with all the big money he's going to get, you're not necessarily going for a ring this year. You're going for like, okay, we need to get playoffs and we need to continue to draft to develop that Super Bowl team. Where with Rodgers, his cap hit is going to be so small that you can bring in the veterans and go for the ring that year for these next two. So it's interesting. It's like two different mindsets with how the dynamics are going to play out for the quarterbacks. Donald, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. We got Ron joining the show. Ron, how you doing tonight?
Hey, can you hear me? Are we doing good?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, that's great to hear. So, I mean, obviously, all we're talking about is quarterbacks here. So, let's start talking about some quarterbacks. So,
love it.
Aaron Rodgers. Can we get him? Can we get Aaron Rodgers? I just don't see it happening. I think we fall into this fallacy every year that we're going to go get a top guy. And, hey, I think it's okay not to get Aaron Rodgers. Derek Carr is a little bit more manageable. I think we could get a guy like Derek Carr. But, I mean, look what happened to the Colts. I mean, they just signed Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers. Is that where we want to go? Like, I mean, if we're just going to be getting a veteran quarterback every year and just trying to string together a Super Bowl run, look what happened to the Colts. I don't want to be where the Colts are.
Yeah, but then look at like teams like the Rams or the Bucks or like, you bring in a veteran quarterback and you win a Super Bowl. And I think Rodgers is the type of quarterback you could do.
Level.
Yeah,
Rodgers,
Carr's an interesting one.
Is on that level.
Carr, you run the risk of having that Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I've always heard people say like, oh, Derek Carr has all these comeback wins and everything, and like I get that is a nice thing to be able to say, but like also realize he's putting his team in a position, in part because he's not scoring enough to keep up with the points that his defense is giving up, and there's a reason why Stafford, Cousins, Carr lead in terms of comebacks and not Brady, Breeze, Rodgers. It's because the good quarterbacks are keeping leads.
Course.
Yeah.
Of course. So, I mean, like, if we think about it, has Carr even ever won a playoff game?
I don't think so. I think he's only been in two playoff games. Well, I think he went to the playoffs twice. One year he had the broken leg. I think the second year was 2021.
Against the Texans. And no, but it's like he's never won a playoff game. Why are we trusting this guy to go win a Super Bowl? And a
lot of people don't win a Super Bowl until they win a Super Bowl. Like Stafford's biggest knock, he wasn't winning a Super Bowl.
I'm saying a playoff game.
Oh well, yeah, like I get that. I think
that's fair.
How
are you supposed to win a Super Bowl whenever you can't even win a playoff game? Like, let's be real here. I think the best quarterback that we've actually had for the last 3 years is Mike White, and I'm completely fine with going into the season with Mike White and getting rid of the whole Zach Wilson problem.
I can't see any way that the Jets one, trade Zach this offseason, and two, Mike White returns with Zach still on the roster. Like, for me, Mike White's probably going to go to LA, follow LaFleur, be Stafford's backup. When Stafford hangs it up, then maybe White gets his opportunity to play. That feels to me like the move he's going to make. I don't think he stays with the Jets.
Sure, can we agree that Mike White's the best quarterback that we had for the last 5-10 years? You could even say.
I can't argue against it. I mean, Fitz is really the only one I can say that was better.
Why are we turning this guy
Oh no,
down?
I like
We
White.
never
Don't
even
get me
gave the
wrong.
guy a shot.
I
We
just
never gave the guy a shot. What are we supposed to do? We should go.
Well, we
all
gave him
in
a
with
shot. He
Mike
broke in
White.
half. That's the issue. And I
Sure,
like Mike White. If he didn't,
sure.
I wanted to
But
see him the rest of
have
the
we
season
gone into
because
the
he could have
season yet
been
with
our
Mike
Jimmy
White as the
G.
top guy?
He could have been
Have we
our
gone into the
Jimmy G
season?
level quarterback. Once Rodgers becomes available and once Carr becomes available, at Carr, I understand. If you wanted to go with Mike White instead of Carr in the event that you saw Mike White play out the rest of the season and he had like a Carr-esque level of play, I wouldn't have any problem, re-signing Mike White. But the fact that he got hurt and you have Zach Wilson behind there, like they spent the number 2 overall pick on him. They're gonna want to go back to him at some point. As much as fans like Mike White and the players loved to rally around Mike White and he was our best quarterback.
We can get rid of Zach.
I know. I don't see it happening, dude.
What has he done for us?
Boom!
You're out of here!
Ejected. Ruthless with the chicken. All right, we got Sonny joining. Sonny, what's up, brother?
Hey, Ryan. How you doing, man?
Hanging in there. How's your night going?
Good so far. Not too bad. Yeah, just to sort of jump in there with the last caller.
Sure.
I mean, if you don't want Derek Carr, then who do you want? Just Rodgers or nobody?
Yeah, right? Like, my panic, I think the panic for most, if not all Jet fans is the, like, if you don't get Rodgers, then you passed on Carr. And, like, that's the panic. But, like, I don't know. What do you want to do if those two quarterbacks aren't an option? You think the time frames work out?
I think the time frame is starting to get closer than we thought it would before.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll get a real understanding if we have any shot with Aaron Rodgers, and then have the opportunity just to go all in on Derek Carr, and try to make that push to bring him here. Now, like you just mentioned, that's an amazing point. What if these two guys don't want to come here? That's a real possibility. I was a little bit surprised. It showed the progress the Jets have been making just by Derek Carr taking the visit. The last few years, we couldn't attract any free agent to come here and visit us. So I was glad to see the guy actually came out here and had an early dinner or whatever you want to call it in New Jersey.
Well, just to say that, like, I mean, for him to come out here, I think that shows a lot. For me, I see it. It could have been a few things. Could have been, okay, we're testing the waters, we're doing our due diligence. But I think the Jets being the only other team to call Vegas about Carr, and there was no trade offer accepted, so Carr was not allowed to talk to us prior to that. We don't know if he offered anything. We don't know if they were even going to trade him within the AFC at all. But I think Carr seeing that, recognizing loyalty, and then coming out here to New York and New Jersey, spending some time with us, I think there's a reason why we were his first visit. And I think he would, like, I don't think we should discount the personality of Carr. I think Saleh and Douglas are, like, very high on that. And in the event Rodgers is, like, too wishy-washy and Carr says, hey, look, guys, I'm all in, I think they'll go for him. I think they do.
Yeah, I think Carr is a really high character guy, just a really good dude, and just one of those guys that he's all heart. Wherever he goes, he's going to be all in. All that being said, I'd obviously rather have Rodgers, but like we were saying before, there is a shot that both of these guys, Carr and Rodgers, say, I'm not sure that's the best fit for me. I need to go somewhere else. If that's the case, we're looking at a realistic scenario of Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe there's a couple of wild card options out there that we don't see. Can we trade for Matthew Stafford? Can we trade our firstborn for Lamar Jackson? You know, but is there any
if we don't
possible
get Carr or
way?
Rodgers, I would like hope there's some other trade that we just don't know about that could like spring up, so I could be super excited because Tannehill just
Right.
doesn't do it for me. I get why they would do it, but man, that would just be such a kick in the pants. Sonny, thank you so much for the call. You've been
You're out of here!
from the cockpit. All right, guys, on deck, I have Jimmy from Seattle, then Jay, then Bo, then Jake. So just hang on, guys. We'll get to you in that order. Jimmy, welcome to the cockpit.
It's good. What is good? What is good?
I'm hanging in there. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, brother. You know, just going through, getting all my Jets content in for the day after, hanging out
Love
for
it, love
all
it.
day. Love what's going on here. But, man, I have to err on the side of caution, man.
Mm-hmm.
We've been through this before. We've seen this movie with this team, with this franchise, man. And I'm a huge advocate. Like, obviously, everybody knows when it comes to the quarterback situation, when you have to choose between Carr versus Rodgers, you're taking Rodgers 9 times out of 10, twice on Sunday, though. So it's like, we get that. Unfortunately, for me to want to sit here and wait it out and hope and pray that somehow the Jets, who have had nothing for the past decade and a half, go right for us, for it all of a sudden just to flicker just because we had a couple of wins that we got with the lack of a quarterback, with having a run game and then losing all of our guys. Like, man, either way, Carr, Rodgers, I have faith that they're going to be bringing in people, right? Like you can only imagine. Like, there's wide receivers out there, like a Devontae Adams, like when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, Alan Lazard, that wants to probably have that consistency with their quarterback. But outside of just it not costing the picks, the compensation and stuff like that, I have to go with Carr, man. I understand that everybody's over here is very weary about what if he can win a playoff game, if he can play in 35-degree weather, if he can be consistent, this, that, and the third. Man, team sport, obviously. But I think just from what we've seen, man, all we needed was mediocre quarterback play. Mediocre quarterback play. I'm not saying Brosy's going to come up in here and be, walk on water like Jesus. All I'm asking for him is just, can you hit the screen? Can you hit a slant on time, not behind my guy, and let Garrett Wilson get his head tore off? Will you give us time, like throw the ball away? That's all I'm asking. Can we throw the ball away? Like, man, and I think that goes overlooked. Everybody's all in the glitz and glamour of Aaron Rodgers, but I think we got to go with Carr because he's the most available. He clearly has some type of respect for us. Jimmy G is like my last straw. Like, if we get Jimmy G, I ain't gonna be happy about it, brother. I ain't gonna be happy.
No, I won't be happy about
squad, but it would be 10 times better than Tannehill and anybody less, brother. I would rather have. I'd rather have V-Man be our quarterback for a season before anybody else. Like, forget that.
I'm hoping, dude, I just want to see competent quarterback play from the quarterback under center for the New York Jets. I don't care who it is. I'm going to be rooting for him. Brother, thank you so much for the call.
Yes,
you have been ejected
You're
from the
out of
cockpit.
here!
All right, we got Jay on the line. Jay, how you doing tonight? Jay, can you hear me? Going once. Jay going twice. And I'm going to go to the next caller. We got Bo. Bo's coming in. How you doing tonight, Bo?
Hey, how's it going? First time caller here.
Love it.
Typical Jets fan shit. Everyone's freaking out, over analyzing everything. I think we're just a fan base of contrarians. Every time the truth is like right in front of us, we have to start playing conspiracy theory, thinking of packages that are never going to happen.
So you think it's going to be Carr?
Yeah, no, I mean, everyone talks about like, oh, all we need is a competent quarterback. Well, any one of these guys on these lists, even the people we don't even want, if we're being honest, is still going to be an upgrade. Still going to be an upgrade.
You're not wrong. It could be any one of them, and they'd still be an upgrade over 33rd ranked quarterback or whatever we had last year.
Exactly. And I'm in the camp, Rodgers or Carr or bust, because they say there's no playoff mandate, but with the rookie contracts, We didn't hit on quarterback. So we hit on like 4 other guys though. That's your quarterback window with the contract. You need to find a way to manipulate. And furthermore, I mean, defense, I think our schedule was kind of easy. We played a lot of injured quarterbacks. I'm not going to expect top 3 defense. I'll expect top 5, at worst top 10. So that can take a step back.
I agree with that. I do think we see top 10 level play next year. We're supposed to have a really tough schedule next season, but I do think it's tough to duplicate defensive performances year over year.
Which almost never happens. Aside from a few games, I mean, God forbid he was out 8 or 9 games, that defense wouldn't be top 3. They would have fallen at least 5 or 6 spots.
Yeah. I think it's interesting when you start talking about the defense and what could happen. When you get a good quarterback, now all of a sudden your pass rush might be able to tee off on the other team's quarterback, and you might be able to generate some more turnovers too. So there is some turnover potential with an offensive firepower.
If we have quarterback play, it's all symbiotic. They all feed off of each other. And the big thing with Derek Carr, I mean, I don't even have to say it. We already know these stats. Leads the league in fourth quarter comeback since 2015. I tell Raiders fans, sounds like a Raiders defense problem, not a Derek Carr problem. You guys haven't played defense since Asamoah suited up, so don't tell me about Derek Carr.
Yeah, I was saying, 3 losses after a 17-point lead. How is that on Derek Carr? You're up by 17 points and you lose. That's an NFL record in one season.
And then the other thing, I think we all want Aaron Rodgers. You'd be lying if you said he's not the best option. I don't care what you think about him off the field, but that's the uncertainty. So now we got to play the game Carr Rodgers while he's sitting in a K-hole somewhere.
I'm hoping he comes out of this whole thing and he says, I'm wearing green and white next year. I'm going to the Jets. Brother, thank you so much. Love it. Brother, take it easy. You've been ejected from the cockpit. I've got Jake joining the show. Jake, give me 1 second. I just want to throw the super chat up, and then we'll get right over to your call. Kevin drops in and says, DJ Reed already said that he would part with his number 4 to accommodate Derek Carr. What is the possibility of Brady coming out of retirement for the Jets? No, but Aaron Rodgers wears number 12, and Namath has said he would allow Rodgers to wear the elusive number 12. So number 4 from DJ Reed, number 12 from Namath. Either one, I'm all about it. Jake, how you doing tonight?
This Derek Carr stuff is just giving me a headache. It really is.
You're so off the Derek Carr stuff.
I'm just like, if Nathaniel Hackett's side of here didn't tell you that Rodgers is coming here, I really don't know what to say anymore. I really don't know what it is. I love the people trying to sell Ryan Tannehill. Like, dude, I'll become a Giant fan if Ryan Tannehill ever came here. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, if you're looking at it, you got to be thinking it's Rodgers, Jimmy G, Tannehill as like the 3. If you kind of were like looking at, like, I don't know if Carr like fits the timeline. If they want to roll with Zach, I think it depends on how they feel about Zach with Carr.
I think the way people have to look at it is this way. The Jets are basically the young, cheap version of the Rams. They don't have guys that are 35 years old and trying to win a Super Bowl and giving everything away, and then they're going to have to start over in 2 years. The Jets can actually, in 2 years, still have their young roster, not even have to fully pay everyone yet. And that's if Rodgers does win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years. And they're not even giving away draft picks that go into 2025. So when everyone says we're giving the farm away for Rodgers, no, actually, people, let's be very clear here. We're not doing the Russell Wilson trade. The Russell Wilson trade is not in any way in any close distance to what we're doing. We are doing probably at the most 2 options. You're giving the 13 picks straight up, or we'll give them a second-round pick and a conditional pick next year. It's those 2 options. They get, and if this starts going to like 2 second-round picks, I mean, JD's beyond a genius, which, by the way, I still think he's done an amazing job.
If he could get Rodgers for 2 seconds, we're going to be jumping for joy.
I don't think it's out of the question. I really don't think it's
totally unplausible, but I almost feel like you'd have to like trade Becton plus 2 seconds. I think it's almost like a weird.
Get rid of Tubby McTubberson. I don't really care. He can't stay.
Well, it's not necessarily like crazy. If I could do 2 seconds and Becton for Rodgers, and then you get Bakhtiari, and you're going to use number 13 on a tackle anyway. Yeah, I mean, it's not crazy. It's an interesting thought.
I think that would be an amazing offseason right there. And they're going to have to get linebacker. They're still going to get linebackers, safeties, maybe another receiver with Corey Davis and Barrios gone. They make those decisions automatically. You're already talking. Let's simplify this even more, man. Like, is Derek Carr beating Patty or Burrow in the AFC Championship game, yes or no? Just right off the top of your head. Is he doing that, yes or no?
I would put them as the underdog every time. The Jets.
Right.
Yeah.
And
my argument to that is I've seen Matt Ryan in the Super Bowl. I've seen Eli Manning in the Super Bowl. I've seen Nick Foles in the Super Bowl. Like, to me, Carr can get you to a Super Bowl. And if you believe the NFL is an any given Sunday league, I think Carr can be that quarterback. I think you have a higher probability with Rodgers, and I do think that's the way we should go, 100%, because it doesn't, like, you're not giving up on Zach at that point. But I like Carr. I like the personality of Carr, I think, is the piece that we have to be careful of. I think that's an aspect that I think Douglas and Saleh really do like and admire. And there is some weird, quirky traits with Rodgers, and it wouldn't shock me if they decided, the price for Rodgers is too high, or, maybe he's not all in here. He'd rather go to Tennessee or go to Vegas. Then I could see them making the pivot. I would like to see him pivot to Carr instead of someone like Tannehill or fucking Jimmy G.
Yeah. Well, I just the whole sell of Carr to me is just like this just.
Jake, I got more callers. Boom! You've been ejected. Jake, thank you so much for the call. I got 3 more callers in here. I want to try and hammer him out. I know I could have let him finish his sentence, but my show, my rules. NY Jets fan 4, what's up, brother? Welcome to the cockpit. Then we got Jay and then Jet Mike to round out the show.
What's going on, Ryan?
Not too much. I'm hanging in there, having myself a good night. How are you feeling tonight?
Not bad, man. Just a few things. Sort of with the last caller, but I don't know if the Jets are going to host Derek Carr and host him for a full weekend to say, well, we're going to wait on what Aaron Rodgers is going to say. Like, if I'm Derek Carr just left a team for pretty much not wanting him and pissing him off that way. So in the way I look at it is you're burning the bridge with Derek Carr if you do that. So that if Aaron Rodgers decides not to come to the Jets, he's going to say, screw you guys. You guys didn't fully commit to me when I literally spent the whole weekend with you guys, and now you guys want me because you decided to go somewhere else.
I think to me that there's a clear conversation that has to happen, and I think with Derek Carr, it's hey, like, are you looking to sign right now, or do you want to court yourself to the other teams? Like, obviously, we want you to feel like you're getting fair value. If you feel you're getting a contract elsewhere and you want to play here, then go find that contract. Let's make it work. Let's have you win as a Jet. I think you can word it in such a way that he's going to be able to like test other markets and talk to people. And I think it's going to stretch out. I'm hoping we find out about Rodgers before Carr signs, because if Rodgers says, I'm playing for the Packers or I'm playing for XYZ team and I'm not going to the Jets, then you have to pivot to Carr. I would be so upset if we did not.
The other thing was, too, is I was watching NFL Network tonight, and it was sort of funny how they had David Carr on there, his brother.
And I'm excited to see their podcast when that eventually comes out about what happened in Vegas.
They asked him if he spoke to his brother about the Jets meeting, and he literally had a grin on his face from ear to ear, and he was like, literally all good things about Derek Carr, telling him how good the meeting went with the Jets and all this stuff. Awesome. And LaDainian Tomlinson was on the other side, and he looked at David Carr, and he's like, I noticed you're wearing a Jets green tie. And all he did was just smile and say, I just wear what they give me. And it was sort of weird how it came literally a day after the meeting just ended.
So NY Jets fan 4, if you can send me that, I would love to put it in a video. I did not see that. If anyone in the chat does know that clip.
It was around 7 o'clock on NFL Network, around that.
All right. If any of you guys know the clip or can figure it out where it is, I'd love to figure it out, because I try to record all that stuff, and then like when I find an interesting clip, that's a good one.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, and he just sort of he had a nice big smirk on his face, and he was sort of quiet, and he just said, "Yeah, I wear what they give me," and it was literally like a Gotham green color tie.
Yeah, that makes me feel good. It's just one of those things that like. Well, I guess it's twofold, right? Like, it could be, oh, hey, the Jets are going to be the highest bidder for a quarterback. Like, I'm going to wear this to scare the Saints, to scare the Panthers, to make them offer more for his brother. I think that's possible. But I think the little subtleties, I think the Jets reaching out about Carr even though they weren't able to get to talk to him via trade, I think that meant something to him. Like the Jets were trying to go after him, even though there was the possibility that maybe Aaron Rodgers is there. And I'm sure, like, you know, him hearing that the Jets reached out about Aaron Rodgers isn't going to rub him the wrong way either. I think he understands it's a business. The dude just got cut after having a no trade clause. He's all about the business this past year. But I think if the Jets say, hey, we want you, and the personality fits, which I think it does. Like, to me, Carr, if I could take Rodgers and put Carr's personality on it, it would be perfect.
Yeah. I'm going to say probably, I'm just going to go on a limb and just saying, I personally think in the next, like what Robby said, in the next 7 to 10 days, we'll probably hear something. If the Jets will probably make a decision within that time.
Yeah, I think we hear after the combine. I think we find out Rodgers is going to be able to get moved before the combine. All the questions wind up happening. I got my little calendar over there. That's why I'm looking at it. But I think we'll find out the beginning of next week that Rodgers is coming back. We're going to find out the Packers are going to trade him. They're going to have conversations over combine week, and then Carr and Rodgers will both wind up signing about a week or two before free agency, so all of the teams can make their
I think Sabo would bang on with that 7 to 10 day timeline.
Completely agree. NY Jets fan 4, they give so much for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. All right, we've got Jay joining the show. Jay, how you doing tonight? Jay, can you hear me? It says guest has muted themselves. I'm going to put you back in the... I got you. There you go. How you doing, brother?
On, boss? I'm all right. Yourself?
I'm hanging in there. I'm enjoying this whole quarterback hunt, and I'm hoping we just get a guy that can lead us into the postseason.
Yeah, it feels good knowing that we're going to end up with somebody. I do think we should go the Derek Carr route. And I enjoy Rodgers. I like him. Obviously, he's in the tail end of his career. I do have a feeling if we do get him and it doesn't work out to his liking, with the media and all that, I have a feeling he's going to retire after a year and we're going to get screwed. And he's, in my opinion, he's a very selfish guy. And I don't think he'd have a problem coming in for 1 year, retiring, and just leaving us all fucked up. And I just know what's going to happen with him. Unfortunately, I just know it. So,
that's a fear, right? Like if he's so fed up with the bullshit, and he's like, I'm so done here. The Jets gave up all the picks, and I don't need this.
And this isn't Wisconsin, buddy. So they're not gonna let him off the hook. You know, he's in the Midwest. He's in Wisconsin. He's probably the most entertaining thing there. So they let him do whatever he wants. He comes here, you know, they're gonna push him, and I'm telling you, he's gonna retire after a year. Just very selfish. He knows that these teams, especially like the Jets, he's not stupid. He knows that we're interested, and he knows that time is the clock is ticking, and he goes on a 4-day retreat or whatever the hell he's doing. I'm just not a fan, and I have a feeling. I really like Robert Saleh, and I like the previous person said. I read about David Carr, and David Carr. One of the things he mentioned was him, and he really liked Saleh. And
David Carr,
Saleh's a player. Derek Carr really liked him based on the conversation he had with his brother. He said he really hit it off. He really hit it off with Saleh, and that's great. I feel like Rodgers, despite Saleh being like a player's coach, I feel like I don't know, man. I just don't see the dynamic working out. I feel like they're not going to be able to tell him anything. They're going to be walking on fucking eggshells. I don't know.
I think with Hackett, it's a little. I feel like the Hackett Rodgers thing, I think they're fine with that. Like it's almost like the Peyton Manning going to Denver, like, hey, just run the offense. Like we're going to build it around you. We're going to try and win a Super Bowl around you. And I think that's what Rodgers wants. The whole thing with Carr for me, that I go back to like the draft last year, and I see the Kayvon Thibodeau versus Sauce, and like you could see the talent in Kayvon, but the personality just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I saw them go with Sauce, and I look at Rodgers, and like I see Rodgers as the best option. It makes the most sense to me, and it feels like it aligns everywhere. But the personality and the person that is Derek Carr is so fascinating to me. I would love to root for Carr. I really would. And that's not a knock on Rodgers at all. It's just I really like Derek Carr, the person, probably more than the quarterback, honestly.
I agree. I agree. And I like the fact that we don't have to give up picks. And we need the help, and we need the help, man. We need as much help as we can get. I don't like and he's gonna be cheaper. So whatever.
So
It was a
cheaper,
pleasure, brother.
sort of. It's cheaper like on a per year basis, but Rodgers is actually cheaper on a cap hit basis for these next 2 years. We just get throttled in that third year.
Yeah. Cheaper in regards to we're paying the guy and he's actually playing for us, rather than Rodgers, he plays for a year or two and then we're stuck with whatever it is.
$60 million of money that's not being used towards a player at that point.
Real quick before you kick me off, real quick. One more question.
Go for it.
What do we do at wide receiver? I'm thinking we cut Davis. Okay. I'm thinking we cut Davis and we give Mims an off season, especially him being a big body. I think he can really show. I think he can really show his true talent this year, man. Especially with like a David Carr. Derek Carr. I'm sorry.
I do agree. I think with Corey Davis, I think if you get Carr, you may hold on to Davis as your third wide receiver. That you might have Mims in front of Davis in some capacity, trying to get him some reps before he walks in free agency. But I think with Rodgers, you wind up cutting probably Berrios. You probably cut Corey Davis, and then you bring in someone like a Cobb to be the backup slot, and then. I don't know what to make of Davis. I think it's almost based on however the quarterback coming in feels. Like, is there a player you want? Like, either quarterback could have the option of bringing in a wide receiver they like because we can cut Corey Davis. So that's almost like a perk to signing with us anyway. And I don't know who that would be if it was Derek Carr. Rodgers, I feel like it would be Cobb. I think Lazard probably goes elsewhere. I don't know. Wide receiver is an interesting one. And I'm not overly concerned because in a worst case scenario, Mims is number 3 behind like the 2 tight ends, the 3 running backs. Like there's enough, mouths to feed. I think that it's not going to matter too much.
But it was a pleasure, brother. Take care.
Take it easy, brother. You've been ejected from the cockpit. I had one more caller in there, but Bobby's in here now. So Bobby, we're gonna get to you. Bobby, how you doing tonight, brother?
How you doing? The Jets looking good next year.
Yeah. I love it. Oh, there's Jet Mike. Jet Mike, we'll get to you after this. Hang in there. How you doing, Bobby?
Good. I think you should guys get. I think I like what's his name better. I like Derek Carr better.
Yeah, Carr better than Rodgers.
Yeah, isn't he much younger than Rodgers? Right.
He's a lot younger. Yeah, he's 32 years old. He'll be 33, I believe, in March. And Rodgers is 39 years old.
Yeah, I wouldn't sign Rodgers. And what about picking up T. Higgins as a receiver? Can you do that?
I don't think we'll do that. I don't think the Jets are going to spend big on wide receiver. If they do, it's going to be on a veteran that wants to win a ring, I think. That may not come super expensive. Like, I could see the Jets going out and trying to make a move for Hopkins, depending on what contract he wants.
He's old like Aaron Rodgers. You really want him?
I do want Rodgers. Rodgers or Carr. I'm fine with either one for different reasons.
Receiver. Hopkins, you really want him on your team?
Oh, maybe if Hopkins wants to play with either Rodgers or Carr, I'd be all about it.
Yeah, but he's old. You got to give him like a 1-year contract.
That's fine. If you're bringing in Rodgers, you're going for 1 or 2 years anyway. At that point, I don't mind going on the side of veterans that want to win because I feel like they'll give that little bit of extra juice, and the veteran presence is valuable in the playoffs. I don't know. It's interesting. I still find myself kind of in like the Rodgers has the better chance to win the Super Bowl in the next 2 years, where Carr gets you a bunch of lottery tickets for like the next 5 years, which I think is interesting too.
Carr could run better than Aaron Rodgers too.
I don't know if I'd necessarily say that. I would almost say Rodgers runs a little better than Carr, just because of the way he shifts around the pocket. I shouldn't even say run. It's really like manipulates the pocket. He slides really well.
He's gonna be needed a walker soon anyway. So he's.
Hey, we saw Brady win a Super Bowl late in his career.
Oh,
Breeze was slinging it.
Hey, Brady's awesome than Aaron Rodgers. There's no comparison.
Oh no, I would take. I hate Tom Brady so much. I would take Rodgers all day. Love me some. You're a Giants fan, right?
First thing, who was that guy you talked to in the first hour or so?
Oh, that was Robby Sabo. He's from Jets X Factor. He's really smart. Dude knows
Wait,
his stuff.
is he on YouTube too, like you?
Yep. Yeah. So if you go to Jets X Factor, he's got a few different guys that do videos. Joe Blewett comes on the show occasionally. He does film breakdown. Michael Nania is really popular.
I like the guy with the beard. That what you got? The
Oh,
old man.
Green Bean?
Yeah,
Love Green
my
Bean.
brother loves Green Bean. You know my brother Mike, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Green Bean and I go way back, even before YouTube and stuff. We were going back and forth on a Jet forum for a bunch of years before we wound up like linking up because of video stuff. But Bobby, you have reached the end of your time. You have been ejected. You're out of here. How did I talk to him? I talked to him through the forum. All right, last caller of the night. We got Jet Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Hey guys, how you doing? Now I'm thinking we do Aaron Rodgers for a second and third max, or Carr for $35 million. Whatever the best option we'll do.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you could get Rodgers for a second and a third, that's I don't know how you don't do that.
Well, let's be realistic. Who's our competitor? If he only wants to go to the New York Jets or be a Green Bay Packer.
So if those are the only options, yes. But I don't know if they are. I think Vegas could be an option. I think Tennessee is going to be our biggest like hurdle to deal with because Bakhtiari has a home in Tennessee and if Rodgers wants to play with him, Rodgers already has property in Tennessee. I can see a situation where Matt LaFleur wants to trade the quarterback, obviously to the other conference, but to his former team and former colleague in Mike Vrabel. So there is like a rationale to want to win. Not to mention, I think the NFC or the AFC South is hot garbage right now, even with like the Jaguars on the up and up. I could see a situation where he wants to go there. I just think the Jets are a better option for him. Now, the Titans and the Raiders both have better picks than the Jets have, so the Jets are going to have to pay more than any of those other teams.
Yes. I just can't see them wanting to go to Tennessee.
Why not? No state income tax. It's an $11 million difference.
They're terrible. They let's be realistic.
You hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. They had a bunch of injuries on the O-line. Trust me, I get it. I'm gonna pitch the Jets thing all day. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
They're not in a pass offensive lineman type of team.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's thinking about Garrett Wilson. He's thinking about
that's
Breece
what I'm
Hall,
hoping.
ABT.
Yes.
Let's be
Elijah
realistic.
Moore. I mean, he comes in here and he says, "Hey, look, I need a receiver. I need a tackle. If I can get you the tackle in free agency, you're going to get me a wide receiver in the draft. Are you going to like? I think the Jets will do whatever they can to surround him with talent, and I think he's going to get the Kings treatment the same way Brady got it in Tampa, the same way.
Sure.
Honestly, who wouldn't be a terrible signing? And you saw him almost go to Green Bay last year. Would be Odell Beckham, and he's a head case, but a head case with Aaron Rodgers may not be the worst decision for a year or two as a veteran receiver if he wants to win a ring. Imagine him coming back to New York. Dude's a head case, but he's a fun head case.
I'm okay with Carr too. If we could get him under the right price.
Yeah.
Send him with see how much money we have left over.
Yeah, I think Derek Carr ends up somewhere around the $35 million a year range. I had predicted 3 years, $100 million fully guaranteed. That's where I'm going to kind of, hang my hat on. Who knows? Fair. We'll see. I would like to see if he winds up going north of 40, then you start like kind of panicking a little bit. I know. My fear is that how often do franchise quarterbacks hit the open market? The only time we've really seen it is with Kirk Cousins, and Kirk got a fully guaranteed deal.
I heard Daniel Jones wants $45 million.
I saw that, and I saw the chat was pretty pissed off at me for saying that, but like, if there's a situation where he hits the open market, he immediately jumps to number.
I don't want him. Come on.
I like Daniel Jones. I know like there's people that are anti-Giants and all that. Not for 45. I understand 45 is a lot. Like that's a big panic move, and I think that's more so because he wants to get franchise tagged than anything else. I don't think he actually wants to sign a contract. I think he's seen Kirk Cousins in the NFC East. I think he's seen Dak Prescott in the NFC East play on that 1-year contract, fully guaranteed. He plays the most protected position in professional sports, at least from a football perspective. I think he wants to play on the tag. That's why he's asking for $45 million, because he knows he's not going to get it right now. If the Giants allowed him to test the market, I think you absolutely should have a conversation with him. I think he's Josh Allen light all day, and as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, he can be a very dangerous quarterback.
100%. We'll see what happens, right? That's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, I think I would rather Jones's potential over Carr's potential. Like Carr, I know what I'm getting, and I would say Jones has a lower floor than Carr, but I think has a higher floor than has a higher ceiling than Carr.
Let's be realistic.
No, he's not. He's going to get franchise tagged by the Giants. He'll make $42 million or $32 million, whatever it is this year. Saquon's going to get the transition tag, and it's going to be a non-factor. But Jones is an interesting option. Jet Mike, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. Come on, where's my little ejector seat? Where's that thing? Chicken, come on. I don't know where the chicken is. Chicken didn't want to come out and play. All right. Boys and girls, we have got to the end of this stream, and I am hitting a point where I just don't know what we're going to do. Where do we go? What is the right option for the New York Jets? Guys, I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. Are the Jets going after Rodgers? Are they going after Carr? What do they do? Are you going to hang out and watch us tomorrow? Talking Jets pen, all that good stuff. Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, go Jets.
I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your back's against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Under pressure, sacked by Quentin Williams. Right sideline, Usaba's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life to breathe in the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.